Welcome, you guys. Today I'm going to be teaching the popsicle painting. So I'm really excited about this one because it's super simple and it's kind of something that I've been meaning to do, just something more fun and playful and a little bit more bright and colorful and less skill heavy. So this painting won't involve very much blending. It's mostly a design type painting, so have fun with it and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, it should be cool. It's not that bad, really. It'll be fun. I chose this painting because I've been doing a lot of stickers lately, and I have been in that design mode, but also I just couldn't think, honestly, I just couldn't really bring myself to think about like a large scene with lots of blending or, you know, stuff like that. So we're gonna go for simple today. So for this painting, you will need ultramarine blue, which I have just put onto my palette right now. And I'm also, if you've noticed, I'm working at my desk. I'm working on a smaller canvas. This is an 8" by 8" canvas. And it also has about a 1.5" profile. This is called a gallery stretched canvas, and I chose this because I plan on selling this piece. I hope to sell this piece. And I also really like the size. I really love the smaller dimension because it helps me focus a little bit on detail. For the step-by-step process for this painting, I did actually do it slightly larger. You can see it here. About here, and I have the so you can see it there. Yeah, there we go. So I find that having it on the smaller canvas, I'll be able to really get into the details really well. It'll be fun. And I just felt like working on something small. It's a bit of a change of pace for me. All right, so I have some ultramarine blue, and the next color I'm gonna grab is my primary magenta. And that I'm going to use, my setup is a bit different now, so it's a bit disorienting. I'm going to mix the primary magenta with the ultramarine blue, and that's gonna be our outline color. So I have the magenta here. Sorry, that's probably crazy loud for you guys. Let me see. All the paint never quite comes off of these Menchie's spoons, but they're super handy. All right. Sweet, my hands aren't dirty yet. Good job. So let's see. The first step is pretty much just doing the outline. And when I do the outline, I have a small filbert brush. So this brush is a number 10. The filbert size brushes, rather the filbert shaped brushes, are flat, as you can see, but they have a rounded tip as opposed to a square tipped brush, right? So I'm using a number 10, but the size doesn't matter so much as the edge, because the first few steps I'm doing with this painting are very much like drawing. So I'll be tracing the outline. So I'll probably mostly be using this paintbrush straight up and down or slightly on the side, kind of like a calligraphy paintbrush. Alrighty. Now, for the first lines, I'm gonna dip my brush in the water a few times. You can see it's a bit paler. There, and I'm gonna mix it with some magenta. Now I'm gonna keep it a little watery because the very first lines we do might be a bit sketchy, okay? So if you're actually really worried about accuracy, you could even use a pencil in the first couple stages to trace it out. But I'm going to just use a light wash. Hey Milo, wanna say hi? You You guys can probably hear her. She's so lonely. Me, baby. No? Or not. All right, so I have my light wash of ultramarine and a bit of magenta to make a medium purple. Milo's persistent. All right, so the first line we're gonna do is going to be about, I'm gonna do the base of the popsicle. Now, I know that the bottom of the stick will probably be around the bottom left corner, so I'm gonna do a little dot there. Sweet. So I'm gonna start, I put a little dot near the bottom left-hand corner, and that's kind of where the tip of the stick of the popsicle will be. The next line I'm just dragging a diagonal. It's kind of like in the bottom, if I were to divide the canvas in thirds, it's the bottom third, but diagonally. So it does help that this is square, but it would be the same kind of thing if it's portrait. Yeah, so I'm gonna go fairly slowly. Well, for me. I mean, just to make sure. I'm trying to visualize like where, if this is the bottom of it, I don't want it too thick. I'm trying to see how big it'll be. Maybe a bit more down. Okay, there's the first line. So it's about, I have about like 1.5 inches from the edges on each side here. And I guess I can do the little stick too. There's a Maria. Okay. Doing a little stick thing. This will all be covered in paint at some point, but this is just for the beginning layers. All right, and then I'm gonna start to turn it. I've been doing these rounded corners all day in my journal. Like, I just spent a good almost like 2 hours at my picnic table after the kids left. I'm like, I'm just gonna set up August because I didn't have anything for August in my calendar set up. So I drew my August calendar, and then I did the week layout for every week of August. I'm like, dang, I'm on it. All right, I want to make sure I have roughly the same amount of space around the entire popsicle. So I don't want the top to be higher than, say, around here. And this is just so that it's centered on the canvas. So that's kind of like the apex of this, like the middle top. That's the word, right? Apex. So I'm gonna extend these rounded corner lines. And if you mess up your lines, it's okay. You can always paint over it. Or if it's still early in the stages and you're using acrylic, you can actually just take like a wet sponge or a rag and erase, and wipe off the paint. As long as your canvas is primed. I have noticed that if you're painting on like a wood panel straight up, then the first layer of acrylic tends to dye it a little more. It's harder to wipe it off. I'm not even quite at the top there. There we go. So I'm not going all the way around because I want to get that little bite out of it on the other side. So before I round over, oh, I even forgot about how it's going to have the little 3D turn in there. That should be okay. All right, so I'm going to stop right after the center line, and then I'm going to continue the bottom line like that. It's a very basic shape. And then I'm going to do a little half moon. So this little section's about 1 inch tall or wide, the opening. I'm going to curve it towards the inside. And it's a little bit more than a semicircle. I'd say it's like a semicircle and a bit. But it looks like a circle has been punched out. It's definitely more on the cartoony side than the realistic side, but that's kind of the goal I was aiming for with this one, was something colorful and kind of just like a sticker, really. I wanted to paint a sticker. And I might actually be able to use it as a sticker after, so that's kind of cool. If my lines are clean enough. Alrighty, now we do the 3D part. The 3D part is not that bad, but you just have to make sure everything stays at the same angle. So when you're doing, much like when you're drawing block letters as a kid, I'm gonna flip it over. Like when you're doing turning a square into a cube, for example, you want all of the, if it's gonna be not in perspective, I'm not gonna make it in true perspective. I'm just gonna make all the angles consistent so that in the 3D, in 3 dimensions, it's just going to look consistent instead of having a vanishing point. So we're just gonna do, as an example, I have a little cube here, and all of the diagonals are at the same angle. The reason I say this is because like a true perspective would have been like all of them converging towards, you know, a point, but that's only if the object is really big and actually is large enough to go into the background in perspective. But the popsicle is not. It's tiny, so just have to choose an angle that works. So for this one, I'm gonna go for, it's about, I'd say, I don't know, 30 something degrees. I'm not gonna actually measure it, but then a trick to make sure it's the same angle is to either use another pen or a paintbrush, unless you can just eyeball it, and that's cool too. And then it's roughly at that angle here too, and there. So I'm making short lines. They're about the width of the stick. So I'd say like the bottom knuckle part of my pinky there, maybe a centimeter or 2. So once those lines are made, we're going to connect them. So this bottom one here with this one up there. So you're going to continue this line so that it's parallel to the original, and then curve it up towards the little bite. Nom nom. Here we go. And similarly on the other side, I'm just reinforcing this line here. I haven't started drawing yet. Right where it starts to curve, so I'm gonna outline the original line. I'm kind of following this original line first, and then right where it starts to curve, that's about when I'm gonna make, oh, I forgot to do the diagonal first, but there's a diagonal for that. And I tend to go over my lines a few times until I'm happy with them. Then I make it curve up like so. 3D! The drawing class I teach on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, the kids are really into making their names in 3D, so I just let them do whatever they want for the first part of class. They're like, I want to make block letters. I'm like, okay, just do it. And like, it seems like that's just the thing for kids to do. They just love turning everything they can see into 3D. Letters, popsicles, whatever. All right, so for the little bite mark, we're going to do whatever the width is here for our other 3D parts. We're going to make it come out the same at the very bottom of that curve. So it should be around the same width from here to there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to join this top corner, and it's going to curve to this bottom and then join to this corner over here. So it might take, just, you know, be patient. You don't have to do a big zooming line. You do this slowly because we're setting things up here. It's better to take your time at this point so that you don't have as many things to correct later. My curve is not very curvy. Ugh, that's okay. I'll probably end up filling this with white later, but it's pretty much good. It's okay. Basic drawing skills, man. Some days. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm using a number 10 paintbrush. It's a flat, it's a filbert. You can use anything you want at this point as long as it makes a line that you can control. I prefer to, when I do like drawing with my paintings, I prefer to use a flat brush that has some curves to it as opposed to using a round. And the round brushes are fine for doodling and stuff, but I find that these flat ones actually hold a little more paint, especially when they're curved on the edges. It's more like a calligraphy brush as opposed to having a small round, because the small round brushes, they don't hold as much paint, so you have to reload them constantly, and I find you have to get them, you have to moisten them every few strokes as well, and they don't hold as much water. So, but if you're using a pencil or a pen, it's all good. All right, so now we're gonna do the little indents. I'm gonna grab a bit more paint. Now, if you're tracing this out with a pencil, that's cool too. They're just two parallel lines that run. So like there's the middle, so don't do it in the middle, but it would be as if this were the middle, you would do them on either side. I mean, you've probably seen a popsicle at some point in your life, and you know what I'm talking about. I actually have no idea what those indents are for on a popsicle. Is it like just to save like material? I have no idea, but it's pretty iconic. So one reason I really wanted to use this filbert for the first step is because the width of this is perfect, so that for me to do this next step, I'm putting it I'm centering it between the edge of the stick and the edge of the popsicle, and I have about a centimeter of space on either side, and really all I have to do is push down and it's the right width. But that's just because of the brush I selected. I go up just about matched with the bottom of the bite mark. So you can outline it, you don't have to shade it. Yeah, if you're using a pencil, just do the outline of a rounded rectangle basically. And then you can fill it in later. But I'm using my trusty filbert, and I'm gonna do a second line on the opposite side. Oh, it's a bit close, it's okay. And I'm gonna make it come all the way up to the little bite mark. That's a tangent. Someone in school would yell at me for that. Oh well. It's touching the little bite mark. It's okay. Yay, and that's step 1. I always divide them into 4 steps. I have a little preview picture, and we can go. Boop. That's the next step. They're all slightly different because they're from that canvas behind me, and I had to do all 4 of them, one after the other, so they're not identical, but they're trying. They are trying. All right, so go ahead, and if you're using a brush, give it a wash. We're going to switch over to some pink, but if you want to do the bottom of your popsicle a different color, by all means, you don't have to use my colors. Popsicles come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. Feel free to pick your own. I'm going to be using the primary magenta, which is already on my palette, and I'm going to mix it with some white. So I'm going to clean off my brush here first, and then I'm going to grab some white and put it next to my magenta on my palette. Today my palette is just a regular dollar store plate to keep it simple. And I think I took way too much paint because I'm used to using larger canvases at this point, but it's okay. Hopefully I can repurpose some of this. Right, so I grabbed some white, and I'm going to, again, when you're mixing pink, if you're still a beginner with acrylics, start with the white first, and then do a quick dab at the magenta, and then bring it to your pink, to your small swatch of white on the side. Don't mix the whole big blob, because then you're just gonna end up mixing too much, and then you're gonna have to go get more paint later. So what I like to do is I grab a little bit off to the side, and I make a small swatch, which is like a little sample of color. So once I have it off to the side, that means this blob, this original well of color, stays pure, and you don't want to mix it up too much, because then you'll constantly be having to go back to your tube or your container of paint. So I have this white blob off to the side. You guys can sort of see it. There we go. I'm gonna slowly keep adding little bits of magenta until I have my desired color, which is just like a medium bubblegumish pink. Maybe a bit darker. I want it to be able to go in both directions. I want it to be able to get both lighter and darker. Not right now. Right now I'm mixing like a mid-tone. Okay, so make sure it's even on my brush. I also want to make sure I'm mixing enough to last me to be able to fill up half of this popsicle. The tricky part with acrylics is that, or with any type of paint really, is going back and mixing the exact same shade over and over again once you've run out. So I'm trying to get a lot, but not so much that I waste anything. But if you're just starting out, I would say err on the side of making too much. Like, it's okay to make a little bit too much. It's easier to have too much than to have to remix the same color over and over again. All right, so I think I have a good enough blob. So now I just want to make sure that my brush isn't too saturated. Some people use a palette knife to mix colors, which actually would probably be more ideal for this, so that you're not loading up your main paintbrush filled with like a giant blob of half mixed paint. So I'm just kind of wiping it off on the palette in the direction that the bristles go, so that the bristle retains its shape. I'm still using the number 10 brush, and I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna go over and fill the lines for okay. Well, so, yeah, as long as we all get to the same place, it's all good. I'm filling in the pink all the way. I start towards the edges, kind of like a coloring book style. And really what I liked about this one is that there isn't a crazy amount of blending going on. It's not complicated. We're going to add some highlights and shadows in a bit, but it's not going to have to be blended or anything. So I'm going to bring the pink all the way up to about 2/3 of these little lines there. And I'm cutting it off, kind of, yeah, near the top. And I made like a little wave pattern. So actually I might do that first. It comes down this way just so I know where I'm going when I color it in. I have a little curve here coming from the outside edge and curving towards the first line. And then I'm imagining it go up and then come down around here. So it kind of just makes this little wave pattern inside of the popsicle. Hi, Milo. Yeah. She's like, where is everybody? The house is so quiet. And then I kind of curve it up as if it's a wavy line. And it curves back up again. And then I have it go in perspective. Well, diagonally. There. So now these lines just help guide me so that I can kind of just mindlessly fill in the rest. And feel free to, if you're using other mediums, to play around with the texture in there. It doesn't just have to be a flat fill. Especially with watercolor, you can get a lot of cool stuff in there, I'm sure. I will probably do a little bit of not shading, but some texture work with the brush once I get the base layer down. I try to make the base layer as flat and steady as possible so that it serves as a good guide, and then you can get creative on top of it afterwards. There we go. Milo has resigned to sitting next to my chair instead of on it. I'm like, okay. She doesn't like it when I ignore her. When I'm streaming, she's like, pet me. Alright, I'm just... No, they like the attention. They want all the love. Oh, I think... Yeah. I'm just thinking, I wanted to shade this part. I'm looking at my sample and the 3D part here on the edge is actually darker, but that's fine. I'll do that over in a sec. It's definitely easier in all mediums to go darker. What's that? Oh, good. It is, yeah. The sample is definitely, I'm glad that you're looking at the sample because I need to look up at it every once in a while too. Me neither. My first attempt at it was in my sketchbook with I painted with acrylics in the sketchbook, and it was kind of neat. Kind of came out kind of cool, but the colors weren't as vibrant for whatever reason. I think because my sketchbook paper isn't white, it was like this cream color, and I'm like, oh, I hate the colors, but I like the design of it. So then I painted it a few times on a separate canvas. I swear, I think I've painted this popsicle like 8 times already now, and then I did the sample step by step because I have to make sure it stands on its own properly before I do the step by step. So by the time I do the demo, I'm like, I could paint it in my sleep. All right, so I did make it darker for the this 3D part, and to make it darker, really, I didn't want to override this mid-pink color I had, so I took my magenta and I made a darker swatch underneath it, underneath my pink. That's just so that I still, if I need to go back and use that lighter pink color again sometime, it's not lost. It's a benefit to having, well, a palette that can support a few colors. Here we go. Alrighty. At this stage, I don't know if I'm gonna try textury things just yet. I'm trying to see how dry it got. Thank you. It's all good. Oh, I'm eager to see what you guys' ends up looking like. Yeah, that's actually like, this piece definitely, I haven't done something simple like this in so long, so I just wanted to, yeah, experiment with something. At first I was designing this like lake or loon on a lake or something, and I'm like, oh, it's cottage season, I should do something cottagey, and then I just couldn't bring myself to paint something traditional landscapey. I'm just not, my heart wasn't in it, so I'm like, what if I was just gonna paint anything right now? Yeah? Oh, good. Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I wanted it, yeah, I wanted it to be more fun. Like, lighthearted. Yeah. Right? Oh, that'd be funny. So I'm gonna grab this this darker pink, and I'm gonna mix it with a little bit of ultramarine to make a darker magenta, and that's gonna go inside of the of these lines here. So if you had just outlined it, now you can fill it in. I'm using like a dark purple. I didn't want to just do this same color but even darker. I wanted it to be something in between the pink and the outline, because the outline I'm actually going, when I finish it, I will keep it blue, bluish purple. So for this shadow color, I mixed a little bit of blue into the magenta. You can kind of see it just looks like a dark purple. So yeah, it's kind of just like a dark purple. And I'm only gonna bring it up to where our imaginary wavy line is. Over here. Right there, that's the, that's where it would be linked if the, essentially, if the popsicle were, have to been like dipped, you know, like, I saw some really cute popsicle pictures on Pinterest when I was looking up stuff. Have you guys seen like the ones that are like containers, like it's a drawing of a popsicle, but it contains like a terrarium or like, yeah, they're so cute. And I thought of doing something like that, but I think it would have been a bit too complicated, but this is like heading towards that direction. Oh yeah, I follow them. So cute. Oh, I'm sure I'd buy that in a heartbeat. Yeah, it's kind of superimposing two different worlds. Like, go, is that the one next to Wallach's or a different one? Yes, I have. Mm-hmm, it's a good one. Nope, I didn't know if it was this year. I saw the one that they did last year. Sweet. I'll have, actually, yeah, I have to go to Wallach soon. I should check it out. Is it close to the other one that Andre did? Okay. Oh. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just did a new one. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Well, I'm glad they replaced it if it was damaged. I'll check it out, yeah. Nice. How was it today? That's right. Yes. I remember I did some art supply shopping not too long ago, and I was really grateful that they closed the street down on the weekend. Is it just Saturday or the whole weekend? Okay, I must have been there on a Saturday. Yeah, I think it's really nice to just give the businesses there a bit of a break, encourage some foot traffic. There we go. So now I have filled up my popsicle with pink. I'm going to wash my brush and I'm going to grab some turquoise. If you want to mix your own turquoise, go ahead and just do a bunch because you'll need like a good blob. Well, in my case, my blobs are way too big, but a decent amount. The only reason I don't like mixing my own turquoise anymore because I never remember which blue I'm using as a base color. And so like this turquoise, I mean, it's just straight up turquoise. It's from Wallach's. It's definitely more in the green for me. I guess it's kind of green. And I usually tend to mix it with a touch of blue and white. But I find mixing my own turquoise is a pain in the butt, and I use it so often, I'm like, why not? I'll just buy my own. Normally, yeah, I find it's hit or miss. Yeah. And sometimes the more blue I add, it doesn't always make it better. It kind of just, I don't know. There's something about this. Exactly. Yeah. I think the palette I use consistently has turquoise in it, so I just bit the bullet and bought the container. And now I need more because I'm running out. Actually, this is what I used for the mural on Nancy's ceiling. Use this turquoise. It was nice. right, so I'm putting a little bit on my palette and I'm going to grab a little bit of white because the pure turquoise, when it dries, is quite dark for me. If you know roughly how dark it dries and you know the color well enough to use it, then, you know, use whatever you're comfortable with. And again, you don't have to be using turquoise either. If your popsicle is going to be all pink or all orange or all red or whatever you like, turquoise and magenta are just like my faves. So, oh man, I keep seeing a pair of glasses that pop up on Facebook, and I wonder if I can get them right now. Not get them, but like see the link. 'Cause I keep seeing it all, like every day, and they are totally like Miss Frizzle glasses. And I know. They are very attentive, and I don't mind because, oh, I know, but I had never seen that particular pair. Anyway, I will totally share it on Discord. That's the thing. I wish they would stop once I've already bought it, because I'm still getting ads for the, oh goodness, I can't find it. For the dress that I bought, the one that's like one piece that has the pocket shorts. Anyway, I'm still getting ads for that constantly. I'm like, I already bought it. I know. Anyway. Oh, rocket pops. Are you making a rocket pop? I thought about that. That's okay. You can make the inside white. Yeah. So I'm grabbing my turquoise now. I'm just kind of filling in the rest. Creamsicles, yeah. I just bought a box for the kids. They are madly in love with them. Mm-hmm. Such a iconic, like, flavor. Orange flavored things, yeah. That's surprising because I find orange is probably the truest to the natural flavor, as opposed to like cherry and grape. Oh, the acidity, yeah. You guys. It's okay. I'm on the no pulp team for orange juice as well. I can't stand pulp in my orange juice. But I don't really drink orange juice straight up. I put it in smoothies for the kids, but I don't really drink orange juice. Brad is the orange juice fiend. Oh, I want one. Oh man, that sounds so good. I have like a can of the bubbly stuff or boobly or whatever, and I just shoved a bunch of raspberries, frozen raspberries as ice. Ooh, and there's some mint leaves in there. But this is what makes water interesting, because otherwise I just wouldn't. I'm just so sick of drinking water. It sounds really silly, but cucumber. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, I should get a cucumber. I have tons of basil. Yeah. Well, the bubbly stuff, yeah, it's really hard if you're used to that. Yeah, there's no sugar. So true. Yeah. Oh. Alrighty. Oh, that'll do it. Well, it'll still work. Yeah. That's not bad. Oh, wow. Nice. All right, so I've just about filled in all of the main part with my turquoise. I'm gonna mix a slightly darker version to do the 3D part and actually, first I'll do the 3D part, because when I do the inside here, these these indents, I'm gonna mix it with a bit of blue, but not yet. First I'll just do the 3D part a bit darker. It's probably imperceptibly dark. I'm just grabbing turquoise and maybe a dot of blue of ultramarine. I don't think it's showing anymore. There we go. What? Yeah. What are you using it with? Ah, that is very smart. Right? It's right there. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. I'm actually using a brush holder, so sorry. I have this thing here. Hey, I got it for free. It was, that's a estate sale thing. Not sale, but my parents' tenant passed away, or didn't pass away. I think she's still kicking, but her children moved her to an old folks' home closer so they could keep an eye on her, and they got rid of a lot of the stuff, and I got a whole bunch of like cool art supplies because she was, I guess, had a hobby as a painter. Free brush tub. Alright, so I'm doing the darker turquoise. There's a dot of blue in here just to make it a bit darker. And that's for my 3D shapes. So remember, don't fill the middle one. This middle one, that's going to be the bite. And that's going to show all the creamsicle goodness inside. Yeah. I suppose if you want to make it a different flavor, you can make it a different color, but I'm going to keep mine white. I'm still using... Yeah, I think the white really helps with the teal or turquoise or whatever. I find they go hand in hand. White and turquoise are really nice together. And then the only color I really wish I could have snuck in here is like a lime green, but because after the orange gets added, I feel like lime green would have been really fun. And I tried a version, actually I'll show you. I tried a version doing the stick in lime green, but it didn't really work. Mostly because lime green is, well, technically it's chartreuse, I suppose. It's one of those hard colors to mix, just like turquoise is. So these are the tests I did back when I started it. And so this one has the green on the stick, but it looks too brown. Like it's not... Actually, on the camera, this yellow looks lime green, but anyway. It was just too dark. And the more white or yellow I added, I should have used like a neon yellow, like an actual neon acrylic paint, and those actually mix really well with other primaries and white. So I do actually. That would probably work better than the yellow I'm using. The yellow I'm using here, the acrylic, is it's a primary cadmium. They are quite good for some things, actually. I have a whole bunch that I bought to do this dollhouse painting, like a small wood furniture from the dollar store also, and that paint work really well together to paint these little wooden tables and chairs that in the dollhouse that my aunt got us. Super cute. But yeah, they're nice flat colors. They have good coverage. There's like no complaints really. So I'm mixing a little bit more blue with my turquoise, and then I'm going to fill in this top area here. The hardest part about this painting is really just like feel free to switch to a smaller brush if you need to get into these corners, because when you want to make something look really sharp edged or graphic-y, you know, like graphic designy, it's really all about how clean your edges are. And getting clean edges is kind of a delicate balance between getting enough coverage of paint, you know, like actually having enough paint covering the paper or the canvas, as well as that enough water. So like if you use too much water, yeah, sure, you get super well controlled lines because it's like inky, but then you don't have enough coverage because it's watered down. So, and then if you water it down, like if you don't water it down enough and you want the color to be really thick, then you have trouble getting into the corners because the paint is too thick. So there's definitely a fine balance between the two. I find the filbert brush is nice, still using that, but once I do finer details, like if I really want to get in there, then I would switch to a teeny tiny, like a 10 or a 3/0. Like these are pretty small. These are the paint brushes that I would normally use for like painting objects, like when I did shoes or skateboards, and I really need to get into the tiny cracks to make it look tight, make it look really sleek. Need teeny tiny brushes for that. Oh, I have not been to Beyond the Pale in so long, but I'm seeing like, well, they do have limited opening times, I think, but the bidding is online. I haven't checked what skateboards they have. Yeah, so Maria, every year they do, well, at least for the past 2 or 3 years, they do an art show where the artists buy a board and like a blank skateboard, and the proceeds go to a charity, or part of the proceeds anyway. And the artists, yeah, like the first 2 years it was like you just go and buy the board, anyone could participate, but they didn't have enough space this year because of COVID and they needed to reduce numbers. So they selected some artists who had already done it in the past. They didn't ask me though. I was really bummed out. My board sold both times and I was like, come on guys. Yeah, they didn't ask me. I was kind of bummed out. It's okay. I have enough on my plate. Where would I have found time? I would have done a skateboard with popsicles on it. That would have been cool. Right? Yeah, no thanks. Ugh. I had someone this morning at yoga actually talk to me about a commission, and like we didn't really have a lot of time to chat because I was on my way out, and they're like, oh Kina, I wanted to talk to you about a project, and I'm just like, oh wow, that sounds great, gotta go, bye. Also totally avoiding, I'm done with commissions for a while, so I'll have to let them down easily. I just don't have enough time to even do my own stuff, let alone other people's stuff. Great thing about putting raspberries in my drink is that once they dissolve, like in the liquid that I'm drinking, I can actually suck them up with a straw. It's like bubble tea. They dissolve. It's like little bubbles. Oh no. You can do what my kids do, and they drink it without the straw, and then they attack the bubbles with a spoon at the end. Because they just like to eat them. And then they always ask for extra bubbles because they want to eat them. All right, where are all my Menchie spoons? I'm sure I had more than 3. I'm grabbing some yellow now. Yum! Nice. Mine is supposed to be pink, although the lighting in here suggests otherwise. Oh, cute! Yeah, I can see it. That's awesome. And the blue stands out really nicely. High contrast. Good job drawing it too. It's awesome. Yeah. It's like you're practicing or something. Ah, yes. It's the best way to learn. No way, man. First like several years of art, any kind of art instruction, all you're doing is copying real life, right? So they will say if you want to learn your fundamentals, you should be looking at real life stuff, but that's still the same as having a reference. Drawing still life, drawing humans, you know, always have something to look at. No one's going to be a prodigy right off the bat and just draw a perfect thing. Ah, yes. Yeah, it's like more of your time. Mm-hmm. So cool. I'm gonna mix the color for the stick. I'm just grabbing some yellow. I'm gonna make like just like a pine, like, you know, a popsicle stick color. So starting with yellow, I brought some to the side from my swatch here. Actually, let me put it on the other side so you guys can see it a bit better. And then I'm gonna grab some white. I should still have a bunch over on the side here. It's gonna make it makes like a buttery lemon. On my camera with this yellow lighting, it totally looks like this radioactive green, but trust me, it's yeah, it looks like, yeah. I wonder, it's probably just this bulb. Let me see what that'll do. It's always, every time I do these classes, there's always whoa, my face is really blurry. Well, you don't need to see my face very well. You know I'm here. On the on OBS, like on the actual streaming software, it's not. So the recording will be okay. But I think Zoom crunches things up. Oh, it's all good. How's the color now? A bit more natural? All right, great. It's funny because I started the class with a certain setting, but then the sun went down. And now the natural light's disappearing, and then it was grabbing all of the light from my lamp over there, which is not natural at all. All right, I'm gonna grab a dot of magenta. So ooh, that's way big, too big of a dot. I started with white, and then I started with yellow, and then I added a big blob of white. And now I'm gonna mix all of it with this dot of magenta, and you see it starts transforming right away into this peachy kind of color. So it's all about the amounts that you use when you're mixing these. I'm gonna add a little bit more magenta. It's funny because all colors are just a combination. Yeah. There we go. That's actually a bit better. Maybe one more blob. Not too much though. It's so much when you're trying to color match, and I'm just kind of color match with whatever color's in my mind right now of a popsicle stick, roughly that color. It's always best to start lighter and then slowly add very, very small amounts of color and fully mix it on your palette before using it. Some people actually, I know some people who mix their colors on the canvas, and that would just drive me crazy. I like to have just the exact color I need on the palette before I approach the canvas, and this color is pretty good. So yellow, big blob of white, and then maybe a medium-ish dot of magenta, and that gave me this kind of peachy color. I wouldn't say it's peachy. I'd say it really is just the color of a popsicle stick. Pine. This nice wood maple pine color. Again, the shape of my popsicle stick is almost the exact profile of my brush, so it's just like boop. Really easy, but yeah, fill it in towards the edges. I gave it, oh right, I gave it a little 3D lip. I don't know when I did that. I probably did it while we were chatting. So I added a little bit of a lip on the bottom right. Right there. Sorry, sometimes like if we're talking, I forget that I need to actually still say instructions. It's super messy right now, but it's just a line to the right of the stick that follows the 3D. It could be a bit darker. Mine looks slightly darker because because the blue underneath. So yeah, you can make it a touch darker. So all of these outlines are getting covered now because we're doing our color layer on top of it. But we can, we'll go back. Actually, I think the last, one of the very last steps is going to be re-outlining everything. Now with a watercolor painting, I'm wondering if you would use like a micron, possibly like a felt tip pen or a black pen. A marker, yeah, a marker would also work. Just nothing that bleeds. Yeah, wait till it's dry. I'm washing off my brush, and next what I'm gonna do, oh, I can actually move up our little step. Pop. So now I have, actually step 2 and step 3 look very similar. All I did was I added, other than them being completely two different paintings, I added the shadow, oh, the highlight. So to make the popsicle look a little more 3D, I added a highlight around the edges at the top left of all the ridges. So we're gonna, hopefully the body of your popsicle color, for me it's pink. I still have some pink that is moist enough to spray it because it's looking pretty dry. I left my Stay Wet palette at the cottage. Womp womp. So I have a giant one that I use for bigger paintings, but I didn't want to use that for this, so I'm using the plate. Anyway, so I'm grabbing my pink. It's still a little wet. Rotate my palette so you guys can see what I'm doing. All right, so here's my pink. I'm going to mix it with white on top. And now I think, yeah, it's just like, it's very, very light. I want it almost white because it should be like that glistening highlight color. And for this stage, I think I might grab a smaller brush at this point because now I'm getting into finer details. Now that I've gone and all mixed it all with this brush, try to take off the extra paint. Yeah, this brush has served me well, but I think I'm going to let it go to the side, and then I have a number 2 brush. And honestly, I'm not even entirely sure that all brands follow. I think they all follow the same numbering system, vaguely. So yeah, it's the size of, I don't know how many millimeters or whatever it is, but number 2 brush, they're small. So I'm going to I have my super light, and yeah, when you grab the really pale color and you have a round brush, this is a round number 2, I roll it around on the palette so that it holds the shape of this brush because I want it to be able to be pointy and give me some detail. So now I have it loaded up with the light pink, and I'm going to start at the bottom left corner of the popsicle, and I'm going to curve around it like this. You see? So I'm adding a line that is consistent in width, and I'm gonna go all along the ridge, right, smooshed right up next to the outline. And it does take quite a few strokes. This is not something where I just whoosh, like a marker, okay? This is something where I go back and forth. I'm making sure every few strokes you have to have a little bit of patience. Go with your brush, roll it around on your palette so that you keep that nice shape. And then I am pulling the line towards, and like my brush is parallel to the popsicle, right? So I'm pulling it and I'm doing the line right alongside this highlight, and I'm going to stop where the pink ends, and then later on we'll continue this highlight but with the lighter teal. But while our brush is still loaded with light pink, we're gonna get the other light pink highlights done before we switch colors, because it's more efficient that way. I try to do all the areas of similar color at the same time so that I don't end up with a bunch of different versions of the same mixed color. All right, so once that first line is done, I'm gonna do the same thing for this ridge. So this, on a popsicle, these two lines here, they're depressions, right? Like they're little dips in the actual popsicle. So I'm assuming that the edges would be a little bit more pronounced, but even to exaggerate that, I'm going to do the same thing where, starting at the bottom corner, I round the edge and then I go straight down, or up, I guess, in this case. And I'm highlighting it. And again, I'm going to stop at the teal because the highlight up here would not be light pink. It will be light teal, turquoise, whatever. Might take you a few goes if your paint is thin. Sometimes white, depending on the brand, is a little less or more opaque, and it might take you more than one go to get this solid color. So I'm going to repeat that on the bottom here, the lower line. Also, I have a super steady hand. I have a lot of practice. If you're at home and you're doing this and you're cursing and your hands are shaky and you're caffeinated, you know, it doesn't matter because it's acrylic paint and you can go back and paint this part again in dark pink, right? So, and luckily this part, actually, yeah, that was the very first layer we did. So if you have to go back and forth with a different brush and this color, just do it, you know, like grab, if you have another brush handy, or even you can, if this underneath layer is dry, you can actually wipe away mistakes and then just paint it again. That's the nice thing about acrylics anyway, which you guys are not using right now, but all right, I'm gonna do one more ridge here. Yeah, this part is nitpicky, but that's not so bad. I know if you could also use acrylic paint or gouache, yeah. That'll cover watercolor, no problem. Yeah, what I did appreciate with watercolor is being able to cover it up with other paint if I was desperate. So I am doing another highlight on the bottom. Technically probably doesn't make sense, but I like how it looks, so we're gonna do it. I mean, you don't have to, but I did it in the sample and I like how it looks, so. All right, so that's all my pink highlights. Now I'm gonna swap my color, I'm gonna wash the brush, and I'm gonna mix a pale turquoise and do the same thing for the highlights of the turquoise parts. Okay, so the pale turquoise, let's see if this is still wet. I could probably mix some new stuff. so I'm grabbing my turquoise and I'm gonna mix. I'm gonna get a big chunk of white. Ugh, it's hard to mix a color with this tiny number 2 brush, but that's okay. I'm only mixing a tiny amount, so it doesn't have to be a big brush or anything. All right, so I'm mixing the pale turquoise. I'm trying to make it a similar shade as my pale pink was. Ish. And mixing just a dot of water. The water also, like just a little bit of water with acrylic helps it be a little more fluid. Again, don't use too much because then it'll actually dilute the paint and you won't get as strong of a color. So just a bit of, depending on the acrylic paint, just a little bit of water sometimes helps the flow. All right, so the highlight that we started at the very beginning, I'm going to continue it up here. I made it much fatter. It's okay. There we go. Okay. And then the same thing, continuing where our pink highlights were. Down here. After we finish this step, take a quick break, take a body break, and maybe grab a snack. Only maybe, let's see, say 5 minutes, not long. Yeah. I need to possibly get a snack. We'll see. I have popcorn, but popcorn and painting is not really good on with the microphone, so I might just grab some for later and steal some in the meantime. All right, highlights are done. I'm going to step away for 5 minutes, and I'll be back at 8:30. Be right back. So I'm going to start the background, and I'll do the outline refresher at the end. Okay, so for the background, feel free to ad-lib whatever, but for the actual sample that I had, what I did was I have just pure yellow paint at this point, and I make like that stroke thing. It's just the outline of, like, you know, as if it were a sticker, and I go around the whole thing, leaving about, I don't know, I'd say 1/4 of an inch or a bit more, 1/2 centimeter, maybe a bit more. I don't know. As long as it's even, it doesn't really matter how thick your white outline is around your popsicle. And I'm not filling it all in outside of that, because in my little demo I had like orange circles. So I guess you could probably just fill it all in, but for now I'm starting with the yellow outline. And we'll go see where we go from there. I'm using just pure yellow, and the pure yellow on the white canvas shows up really well, depending on the paint you're using. Usually yellow is just so thin and so transparent it doesn't show up when it's next to any other colors, but when it's just straight up on the white canvas, it shows up really nicely, which is nice. Going all the way around. Okay. Oh, canvas fell. It's like, what was that? No, it was my little sample piece I had on the floor next to me. It's okay. Milo's curious now. She's like, what was that? So after my little sticker outline, then I went in and did, what was it? The orange circles. So really these last few things, totally up to you based on the colors you chose. What I did was I added some circles. It makes it look like almost like one of those ads from like Quickie or Circle K or Max or something. You know, I just wanted something really in your face, colorful, kind of obnoxious. I'm sticking with yellow, but I think I'm going to mix some orange at this point. So I have my yellow really does look, I think the sun is still going down. I'm seeing some, all right, so I'm mixing some orange by just adding a dab of my magenta to the pure yellow. There's no white in this at all. And I'm gonna make these little dots wherever. They look like, they remind me of like a 7-Up ad or something. Very pop artish. Got one big one there, and I'll do like half of one down here, which I'll probably continue on the edge of the canvas at some point. Oh, I can do that now. This is the first time I get to paint my edge. Paint your edges. This is a big edge canvas. I have a gallery frame one. I have a whole stash of like mini canvases. Anytime I would go to Wallach's, I would pick one up. So now I have a pretty, a decent stash of the smaller canvases just to have on hand when the urge strikes. Some days I just want to paint a tiny painting. It's just, you know, if you've been working on big stuff or if you've been stuck on a piece that you're struggling with, sometimes just knocking out one little painting is all you need. I'm not really following the sample at this point. I'm just putting these orange dots anywhere. And then I'll be doing the background in a mix of orange and yellow. Again, super loosely. I'm not stressing any particular layout for this. We did all of our accuracy on the popsicle itself, so now it's just about splashes of color to contrast what the main subject is. So I'm adding a big one. I mean, obviously the larger negative spaces of this thing, you can put bigger dots, kind of balancing out that composition a bit. I almost wanted to do a rainbow popsicle. I might still try. Just like make a fun little, I don't want to challenge myself by saying, oh, I'm going to make a series, but I might just make one other one and try out a rainbow one. Yeah. Oh, that'd be so cute. A little beach inside of the popsicle. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love the concept of filling them with something and essentially making the frame into a separate object. Yeah, he did a couple of them, and I still have to put them together. So rather, they have here, I'll show you real quick. Oops, sorry. I showed them on stream the other day, but I don't remember if you saw. So this one is the only one that held together. The other two have to be glued because they were made after. So it's like this, but it has a support inside. So this just fits right on it. and then like I don't have to glue it. It stays on, which is great. So we've 3D printed this. I just need to figure out what to prime it with because it's really glossy plastic. It's like pretty smooth. So I might have to spray paint it. I'm not sure because I don't want them white. I want them to be different colors based on the painting that they have. But I also didn't want to, the first frame he printed for me was bright green, but the green didn't match the green that was in the painting that I had it in. And like, it was just a bit off. And like, I was saying, you know what, don't worry about color. Just make it a blank, you know, blank slate kind of color. And then I'll just paint the exact color on it afterwards. I just need to, I think Devious was saying he uses primer for his 3D models, like a plastic paint, something specifically for painting plastic figurines. So I might just see what he uses and use that. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. You're using a green background. Very nice. Oh, you gotta put it a bit further behind. We can't see much of it. There we go. Oh, you made it pink on the inside. Nice. It looks so delicious. Oh no. Yeah. Even acrylic would come off too, actually, as long as you got it while it was still fresh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's how I clean my palettes. I just let it dry completely, and then I soak it in water after it's been completely dried, and then it just comes off in one layer. It's so satisfying. So satisfying. Yeah. Yeah, I just need a little bit more prep. I was gonna do it yesterday, but there is no way I would have. I've been really overloading myself lately. So I'm gonna plan a cooking stream for the 1,000 follower thing, and it'll probably be next week. I don't know yet. I've already like pre-planned my entire week and it's full because I'm teaching now the kiddos during the day, and 3 plus my 2, so 5. But it's in my front yard. Yeah, it is. And it's actually, it wouldn't even matter if there were 10 of them. It's the fact that I have to make the content and I'm making worksheets. They really like working from these copies, like these worksheets that I'm making for them, you know, like draw 10 circles or do this. It's like I have to make my own activities from scratch. It's pretty intense, mostly just because like it takes a lot of time and I want to be able to use that material later on to teach the class again. Oh, and outside of my circles now, I'm doing just pure yellow and I'm filling in the rest. Anyway, so yeah, the hard part really isn't the teaching, it's the prep. So I spend about 3 or 4 hours prepping and then teaching for an hour and a half. And because I'm doing it as I go, so like I get their feedback and then I modify the next class kind of to suit the direction of where we're going. It just takes a lot of time, and I only really have the mornings before I teach to do it. So it's been really busy. Even just my regular streams, at least those are locked in, but trying to find a space for a new extra stream is kind of, yeah, and I don't want to sacrifice commission time. So, I don't know yet. Yeah, exactly. And she's already paid me for it. She paid the whole amount, and I'm just like, yeah. And so now I really feel that, not pressure, but like I want to get it done, you know? Like she paid for it and it's been like several months. Yeah. So plate is full at the moment. I actually had someone a friend of the woman whose kids I'm teaching messaged me through my website asking if I could teach her kids, and I'm gonna have to say no. Like, I just don't, because we're following a curriculum and like it's step by step, I can't just have them like tacked on to my classes with her kids. It wouldn't make sense. Like, we're building on things, you know. And I'll just be like, oh, you have to wait till September. Sweet. Are you doing like patterns? Yeah. Just shapes of some kind. It is okay. This is just the background. It's just meant to be complementary colors to our subject. Yeah. It's like a chill kind of, oh, cute. Yeah, that works. That totally works. I like the darker green spots. The top one, I think you should, yeah, maybe like make some of them go, or I think you did have one of them go off the canvas too. Yeah. Okay, cool. Some of them can, like, it's nice where some of them go off but not all of them do, or whatever. It makes it a fun pattern. Right. Sweet. Yay! I'm glad you're happy. I'm going to do my outlines now. Yeah. Yes, that is true. And I think I'm going to go over my lines with my round brush. I might touch up the background a bit after, but for now I'm going to take my number 2 again. And now that my paint, most of it has dried on my palette, so I'm going to grab a new swatch of ultramarine blue, the very first color that we started with, mixed with a bit of magenta, and this is to make a nice deep purple that I will use to touch up my outlines. What's nice about, like, if you have, if you're doing this with a different medium too, you can always use like a Sharpie after everything's dried, or any kind of fine tip pen or marker that will, but you just have to make sure it covers the paint, because sometimes not all tools will actually provide that thick opaque layer on top. So what I like about outlining this again is that it kind of just makes those lines extra crisp. Oh, and I'm leaning my hand on wet paint. Maybe I should have done the background last. That's okay. So on this last layer, I'm trying to make it a little bit thicker to give that fat outline sticker look. If you want it to be more realistic, you can also just outline with the same color that's adjacent to it. So like right now I'm doing the bottom of the popsicle, and if you wanted to make it like, say, more realistic or something, you could use the dark pink instead in this area, but I like it to look like a sticker, so I'm going to keep using this same color for the whole outline. But yeah, just here to offer suggestions. Ooh, there we go. And again, moving slowly and dipping my brush in water every few strokes to keep it sharp. Oh, hey Milo. I'm gonna wait till you get down before yeah, there we go. She really shakes up the whole chair when she gets on and off. What are you looking at? What do you see? Yeah. Yeah, actually, yes. And that's it. Like, if you're used to using, if you're more comfortable doing this type of outline work with a marker, they also have paint markers. I mean, yeah, paint markers are perfect for this kind of thing. Yes, for signatures, that's a good idea. Yeah. Honestly, Oh, yeah. The paint markers are a great tool, and you can get them in different sizes as well. There's oil, yeah, there are oil-based ones and acrylic ones. Yes, the Posca brand, I believe. They're pretty good. I think I've used them a couple times. Normally I just get the Sharpie brand or whatever they have on hand. I'm not picky. They are, yeah, they're a bit pricey. My friend... It's, yeah, you have to really have a specific project. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Aw. That's rough, yeah. 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 Oh no. I seriously had to reassess my finances after, well, for July. I feel like over COVID, I just, you know, spent a lot of money online shopping. Clothes and food and, I don't know, a whole bunch of things. Treats for the kids, like, oh, you know, get some new clothes or save up for a new toy or something. And I think I felt like, oh, we're not going out as often, so spend the money on stuff like that. But really, it ends up being more. Like, we get takeout a lot more. Anyway, yeah. It's really expensive. Oh, wow. I think we have a budget for it once a week or so. Try to pick a local place and support whoever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, yeah. That's well, you need to eat. Gotta eat. Well, cooking can be exhausting. Yeah. Yeah. It's not exactly safe. Yeah. Yeah, anytime there's that much stress attached to something like that, it's like, yeah, no thanks. Yeah. When I started... Yeah. Mm-hmm. And here was... Yeah. There's that sense of community, right? Who's that? Oh, right. Awesome. I'm sure it... Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. When did you find out it was him? Yeah. Oh, when you went out. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, I saw you. You're in my hotel. So cool. Haha. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Ah, it's amazing. That was right. That's incredible. The look on their face must have been priceless. There we go. Man, these outlines, they take forever, but worth it. Super sharp. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I'm gonna touch up the inside of the little creamsicle part where I messed up a few times with the outline. I'm just gonna blob some white over it. Not very, pretty unceremoniously, just just covering up my mistakes. There we go. There we go. Well, the outline's still a bit fresh, so I might have to wait till it's dry to really touch it up. But honestly, with acrylics, that's like 2 minutes. Hey, and it's exactly 9 o'clock. I've never actually ended on time before. Yeah. Aw, well, that's kind of handy that you're all ready to go. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Everyone goes home happy. Oh, I just keep blending it. Oopsies. All right. Stop touching it. Stop touching it. Ah, I can't stop touching it. Okay. It's done. Well, for the sake of the recording. And that's our popsicle, you guys. Woo, woo, woo. Love to see what you guys come up with. Thanks for hanging out. And I'll see you next time.